we were talking about how the builders and how everything is going really well. We kind of let the quality slack, or we weren't pushing the line as hard as we should have been.
Holding the line. And honestly, I think we've been struggling on sort of both ends with one particular customer, on both their maintenance of their model homes
Hmm.
and then the install quality issue. It's an easy target because I think that the model homes are like
There's no comparison.
they're
I
just
mean, you're
so
comparing a regular schmegular house to,
a house with a $100,000 landscape
yeah,
house that has
which
a
is
$6,000 landscape budget.
not normal.
The install world can be a little bit of an easy target. At the same time, with it being sort of copy, paste, repeat, I feel there's a lot of things that were kind of slipping through the cracks they should be easy, no brainer, second nature. Some things even
Hmm.
being, I didn't even have to get out of the truck to see some things that were wrong. If you've got a guy on the crew that did that, looked at that and was like, yeah, I'll put my name on this, that guy probably needs to go.
Mm.
Even on sort of the vendor side of it, receiving those incredibly low budgets. Similarly, you almost get a feeling of you don't pay me enough to.
Yeah,
That's an improper path of thinking. That's not a path of thinking
it's
that
not a good lens.
I would want to be on.
Mm.
So, uh, over the last week, I've been like kind of like cracking the whip a little. Yeah, I think it'll be an easy thing to correct and get very truly back on track and jump marginally in levels of quality, and be able to stay there as long as the line is held.
You just have to be consistent at holding that line and holding people accountable, which, uh, we can all struggle with that to a certain degree, holding people accountable. And I think that as humans, we have to just point the other finger, justify or make reasons. That doesn't
It's not okay.
solve anything.
I can go back and forth all day with my contractor and say the budgets aren't there, all this other stuff. Okay, the option is we fix these little things. Looking at each sort of thing that needs to be fixed is they're very little things, but all together, what they look like from the surface, from somebody not in the industry, somebody paying for the service, is poor quality.
Yeah.
The difference is we can go back and forth all day about arguing about how they don't pay enough and not fix these things and lose a customer, or we can fix these little things and make sure that we're getting it right every time the first time. Things are going to happen 90 to 95% of the time. We're getting it right every time the first time. We retain the customer and we continue to have work endlessly and expand and have even more work. Those are the options. So you want to bitch about it and then not have any work at all in the end of the day, or are we going to fix these things and we get to keep working? That's kind of, that's the point. And I think it was Sean that was talking about having direct conversations with people and getting comfortable with, you don't want to be the bad guy, but sometimes you have to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I feel like when I unpack even just you're not really being the bad guy. You're having to get the train back on the track. If the train hadn't come off the track, then there wouldn't be a conversation to be had. Everybody knows what we expect. And I'm bringing on another subcontractor that I am fully confident and trust his quality. I've worked with him for a long time, but he hasn't been because the volume hasn't been there. The guy's quality, I feel, is almost rooted in, I don't want to have to come back. I think that that's an okay motivation. I'll bring up the one that kept getting brought up yesterday,
Yeah.
but the tree well sizes. I'm installing two 3-inch trees. Why would their tree wells look different?
One's lopsided or the T-posts are
I don't have to
in the
get
grass.
close to
Yeah.
these things. I see them from the street.
That's so amateur.
It's so immature. It, the person that's installing that gets upset and frustrated about it. Well, you should have did it right the first time.
At what point are you going to learn?
You know what they want.
Mhm.
You know the mentality of these guys. I was having a conversation with another buddy who's a GC in construction side, and he was talking. This is kind of funny. If he ever sees this, he'll get on me. But I feel like sometimes he tries to pass this thought off or this sort of expression off as something that he either came up with or something. It was like, there's three ways you can have a job: cheap, fast, and good. And you can only have two.
Oh.
If you want it cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. If you want it good and fast, well, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it good and cheap, well, it's not going to be fast.
Okay.
And I kind of was talking to him this is today, and I told him, man, if you ever worked in the production home world, they want it cheap, fast, and good every time. If you tried to come back to them with that expression, they would be like, next. They would rather go through vendors back to back to back until they find somebody that will do that.
Right.
And then trying to be fair in the
Yeah.
market. And I get it. They have certain numbers that they have to hold to as well. And yeah, that was kind of an interesting conversation and perspective on it.
We had quarterly planning yesterday. If you want to count it, I remember we did one previous to that, the first one that we did, I had put together by myself. This is our third one with the coaching company. Every time it comes around, I'm like, okay, I'm prepared. Like I'm gonna be able to know what to put for my priorities and my task. I know what I'm going to do. I know all the numbers and everything, obviously, because I put it together, but I still struggle on putting that shit together. I understand the why and why we need to break it down and things like that. I'm hoping that after at least maybe one more, I feel less hesitant, but I still feel hesitant.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it. I went in there a little bit headstrong. My last 2 quarterly plannings were much more zoomed out on the construction
Mhm.
division and really honestly, they were more so focused on the commercial side of things, which I think that there's always room for improvement everywhere. I just felt, especially with where we started at that first quarterly planning session, which I want to say was in August.
I believe so.
Like the first 2 were heavily focused on like that side of thing. With that, we're working more so on staffing issues, which our recent guest star just came through. His priorities and stuff are focused heavily on that. I feel good and comfortable with that.
I mean, let's see. We got rid of the entire staff,
We
the
got
other division.
we got rid of the field staff, the field management, and
Yeah.
then I kind of absorbed it 2 months after that or so. The coordinator that was kind of dedicated to that also voluntarily left, and we kind of went through a couple of interviews for replacement and then decided, do we need a replacement? Rob, you can do it. I'm gullible. I was like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. This is like
Just kidding.
September.
I was just nervous about it because
Yeah.
it can be a monster, but I think that it had also dropped to a level that was more manageable
Mhm.
on handling both sides of that coin. And then all of a sudden, kind of like organically, it started to regrow itself
Yeah.
revenue wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was honestly surprising.
I think they all took a step back, took a breath, and now they're kind of resuming
Mhm.
a steady schedule. Not quite as insane as it was,
Right.
but it's going to be steady.
No, it definitely for me as like the branch manager in charge of the finances, sure, it's easy to say, no problem, like we can just get rid of it. That's a pretty good chunk of the cash flow that we're getting
Recurring,
every 2 weeks,
right,
without question.
right.
Whether you actually decide to bill it in the system or not, I'm receiving that check.
I do bill it, by the way.
A lot of the times with work on the maintenance side or enhancement side, you have to send the invoice in order for the customer to be able to pay you.
Mm.
With the builders, it's a little bit more automatic.
POs are issued, the job's complete. Even
Ex-
if I haven't generated a bill, they
Mhm.
mark it complete and their payment
It's
gets issued.
already in the process. Yeah. That's scary to lose. I'm trying to set it in such a way to where we're not so reliant on it, but it is still nice to have.
I mean, even though it's low margin, I think that we kind of worked up with what the original branch plan had said revenue per month on this division.
Hmm.
We recently kind of quick edited it until we could get to a point where we can do a little bit of a in-depth calculation of it.
Right.
But essentially, we tripled each month. That was what it was, or roughly added $100,000 to each month
Hmm.
because they were too low.
Yep.
And I think that we're kind of hitting those marks, sometimes beating those marks over the 12-month period with the low margin. It still comes out to a decent amount of money monthly. On top of it, it's just paying for itself. It is making it like some money that's enough to not ignore.
Mm.
Now it's really just me. I don't have a whole team that's also needing to be paid for by that. I think that that also makes it look a little bit different. Then if I can stay nice and lean like we are with it and continue to slowly and organically grow it, I think that
While keeping quality,
while
of
keeping
course.
quality so that all the way full circle back to quarterly planning, I think this quarter with the decisions that have been made since all of that, I thought that some focus needed to be aimed at it. It's not a back burner thing. It can't be
Hmm.
a back burner thing. That was one of the things that you had said that we've done this now a few times, and there's certain things that like get back into the planning, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about this.
Hmm.
The one thing was the priorities that like stuck out with me every single time. That's why I was kind of pumped whenever it came back to like my turn. I wasn't really pumping up to like read mine out. I did hear
Yours is
some.
actually solid.
Heard some chuckles in the back that were like, "What? What'd you say?" It was just because I had prior to that point where we were talking about the priorities and having to like discuss it. I did come out with a brainstorm in the exact format that they've shown us the last 2 times, which was a big vomit of a priority. Then I remembered for some reason the number 12 stuck out in my mind. The booklet actually says 10 words. But I remembered, all right, now make this priority 12 words or less.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and version 2'd that into 9 words. Then I set my task list and I wrote it. This was all on scratch paper. When it came to my turn, I read it out and then immediately went into this is my revised 10 words or less. And then this is my tasks that are going to be attached to it. Jeremy said, read the revised version. I repeated that and he said, solid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like,
Damn.
nice.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good feeling.
I really, really struggle on doing it for myself. I'm really good at telling people, you need to add this, you need to have that, you need to.
Yeah.
But when it comes to me being more broad, like I don't, for you, it's this is your lane, but I got the whole fucking highway.
That was another thing that I did differently this time was I think the last 2 quarterly plannings, I set 2, and the first one, I kind of was like, "Oh, shit, I might have," and especially after looking at other people's that were set, I was
Yeah.
kind of like, "Damn, I shot for the stars here," which is not a bad thing, but somebody joked about bringing up the SMART goals yesterday, and I was
I
like,
did.
Was this achievable? Did I set an achievable goal?" And the second one, okay, similarly, make sure it's achievable. I set 2, and both of those times, they were both child priorities over the branch priorities. One was a child priority to one of the branch priorities, another one was a child priority to another branch priority. This time, I'm going to set an individual priority.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I nail it,
Yep.
and because I want to be talking about how successful quarter 2 was at quarter 3 planning, how my priority that I set was relevant and it was achievable, and I did achieve it.
Right.
That's just where I was this time.
I think they had, they as in the coaches that had made mention. I didn't do it on purpose. How I had the 5 divisions, whereas the 3 on the top and then 2. I had maintenance, enhancement, irrigation, and then project and new home construction. And
NC, no cruise.
yeah, and see, I didn't want to do NHC because this isn't New Hampshire. I was just like, NC sounds better. But now it's, yeah, no cruise.
That was funny.
No cruise. No, they had made mention that yes, these are the lower gross margins, but this is, this is your money, your recurring money. But if this is your lane, then own it and be fucking badass at it. Knock it out of the park. And then it's great. We need that. We need projects. We need the new home construction mainly for cash flows. We're gonna do it. And we know that hey, it is unfortunately at this gross margin, but let me beat it. Kind of like the same concept of, oh, GPS tells me it's going to be 15 minutes.
It's just a suggestion.
Bet.
Exactly. I think that's so funny that that's the example you bring up. I think about that all the time. Gosh, only in my personal vehicle, not in my company.
Yeah. I will say, I pulled up the driver scores because I'm getting ready for our April safety meeting, which I thought about this. It's the Monday after Easter. Not really smart, but
I don't know.
it is what it is. Oh, I was putting together the driver score for March, and everyone was in the 80s and 90s. I think the lowest was like 85, so 85 to 100. Now that labor variance, though,
Mhm.
oof,
Mhm.
we had a lot of changes
Mm.
there.
Oh, just in this last month, I mean, we've seen the rapid exit of the winter season.
Yeah, it's
You know,
pretty rapid.
I felt like one week it was freezing cold, and then the next week it was
Literally the next day, it
within
was
one.
hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah. A homeowner today was just telling me, I know this guy was coming from New York. He was like, "This weather has been crazy." We mentioned the wind today.
Yeah,
He's like, "I'll tell you what, man, this place is the most insane I've ever experienced on weather change." And I was like, "Oh, dude, you're telling me, bro.
buckle up.
Get ready." He's
Yeah.
only been here since December. Dude, you have no idea.
Oh man. So what would you say is what you're looking forward to the most in the next 3 months?
What am I looking forward to the most in the next 3 months? Again, I think that right now I'm super hyper focused on this situation that I'm kind of in right now with the new home construction. Things that pop into my mind right now are consistently beating my gross margins in the production installs, having and implementing this kind of like quality assurance program that I've got going on, bringing on my new old sub, and also watching the growth, the slow, healthy growth of the revenue of this division. Because all of what we had said with what we've got going on currently and what I know is on the horizon that's going to be beginning with us kicking up new neighborhoods with a new customer, and that's starting to kind of get a little bit more steady. The money that I estimated coming from this division, that money that I said was too much to be ignored, that margin of money is going to go up too. I'm just looking forward to turning this situation that really is a redheaded stepchild into being, like a functioning and
Mhm.
and contributing member of the family.
Right, right.
Not so much of the stain anymore, because it really is. I mean, it is a high demand. It's a lot of communication, and it's a lot of complaining and all this other stuff. I think that I was trained by the right people, and and have experience in this and dealing with this stuff, that there is a science to it, almost a magic to it. Once
Yeah.
you have that down, I just feel
It's pretty volatile.
it's definitely
Yeah.
volatile. I think that when you have like a good grip on it,
Mhm.
I feel like it can be very gratifying,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
you know?
I mean, there's definitely some areas I pass, Hidden Oak almost every single day, and I'm like, "Damn, we did that entire neighborhood. We didn't
Yeah.
do the HOA. Every single house in that neighborhood we installed." I'm like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah.
Just, a little bit of bragging rights there. It's not the Taj Mahal of landscapes, but that's a lot of irrigation system,
Yeah.
man.
Honestly, what I see is like grass.
Yeah,
Like, dude, that
yeah,
is so much
that's a
grass.
lot of pieces of grass.
Yeah. I mean, like, thousands and thousands of pallets of
Yeah.
grass. You're like, wow.
Speaking that reminds me, did you ever respond back to purchasing?
I was like kind of brainstorming on my response to that, because there was one thing that stuck out, and we can talk about it, I suppose. But it was like, to me, it's very a little bit clear about this purchasing person that they are like new to the purchasing,
Yeah.
because they have all of this information, but they will continue to ask you for it. It's almost like they want you to like mistakenly give them a lower price so that they can lock it in and tell you that that's what you said.
Or
This was
maybe they're trying to guesstimate how much points they can get.
this is not even about points. It's about the irrigation. So it's not a points thing. It's about parts. And
And points from the manufacturer.
I suppose, but like we're already doing what they said, but there was just one part that they mentioned, and it's the rain sensor. And so they were
Yeah, and then she
saying,
came back and said it's actually the WR2. I was like, "Oh."
yes. And that's where I'm kind of like, well, I'm installing it to code with a wired sensor, which I think is, to be honest, like as long as nobody cuts the wire, like I think it's
Yeah,
a much more
reliable
safe. Yeah,
source.
exactly.
Yeah.
And wireless sensor, to be totally frank and selfish and spoiled, in this world, you have to like
You
watch
have to.
cost, and so that is a major cost
I mean, what's the
difference.
price difference or cost difference
Our cost
between the
difference
2?
between the two is like $52.
Yeah, that's significant.
If I'm achieving the same thing
Yeah, if
with
we're
the same
installing a whole ass neighborhood,
the correct
yeah,
brand, then
it shouldn't matter
right,
whether I'm using wireless or wired. I'm using that brand that you told me I need to use.
right. I'm decent at this, but I've been coming up with a like diplomatic way of responding with that information and saying like, hey, look, and that we're going to continue to use this.
Right, and they also mentioned you could tell that they were obviously they're not well versed in this world, but I saw that they the LNK, but also an RC controller, and it's like, you don't need the 2,
Right.
one or the other, and obviously with the RC, you're limited with so many zones and what is it, 8? Yeah, and so
Which that I'm sure they're happy about, because then they're like, "Okay, we'll design every lot in what's your
every
name?"
lot, and yeah, which is it's just not realistic.
It doesn't jive with some of the other changes that she's made with regard to the landscape as far as facade in
Yeah.
particular. But anyways, quarterly planning. What was your, like, biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway,
Good, bad, or ugly?
I mean, I kind of have thoughts on all of it. I think that I was very pleased to see like how well we did in quarter one.
I did see that.
Yeah, and I know that I know I know that like the rest of the year is definitely achievable. I think we'll overshoot it, but I'm still being kind of like,
Cautiously optimistic?
thank you. Yeah, I like that way of saying it. Yeah, just being I just know that in the past, whenever we've gotten like too busy or too smart, or we think we got this, then we kind of take a little bit of a step back. And so,
Gotta keep the eyes on the road.
right, you just keep your eyes on the road and just keeping everybody on their path. I was happy to see you had mentioned like the scorecards, because that was one of the priorities for this quarter one, was everyone knowing their scorecards, and several people had made mention that they didn't know, and I was like, what? Okay. So
You
I
did
worked
do that.
yeah, I worked really, really hard for quarter one to just make sure that you guys had access to it, you knew what it was, and we talked about it more than once, et cetera. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at some of your swag that's over here in this corner.
So that was really good. I don't know. I can see it and hear it in a lot of people's like voices and what they say that they also believe in it as well. So that's for me, it's very humbling and it just we're doing the right things.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. There was a couple of moments where, for instance, during lunch and when we came back, they had us put all of our phones in the basket. Now, no one was really using their laptops because we didn't need it for the first half, but we definitely had our phones. And I was approached by my coach and was like, we got to take away these phones. And so that to me was like disappointing because really, guys, that's not to me,
I
that
mean,
reflects
I'm guilty too,
yeah,
and I know that the person sitting basically directly across from me, which you were
next to
next to,
me.
he was also very guilty of that. Now, not to excuse ourselves, but we are the only point of contact for the people that are doing
Yep,
the
and
things
that's
that they
exactly what
do.
he said to me.
And so there's a little bit of a not like a worry or maybe hesitation, but it's kind of like I don't want to leave these guys hanging out.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it definitely it makes you very uncomfortable, but and that's kinda where you just need to plan ahead, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of and if buts, but still, as the branch manager, it reflects poorly on me when my children are not on their best behavior. And so I'm like, really, the phones. So as far as like the bad and ugly, right? So that was yeah. And some people as much as I just said for the most part, most of her team, like, I can see they're getting it and I could see that what they are understanding it and they're like, yeah, like let's go, right? But then we do have some people that are just kind of like, what's that again?
Bob, who's Bob?
Bob. Oh my god, that was so
That was low
funny.
hanging fruit, and he's not a person that doesn't get it. That was just a really funny.
Yeah,
Adam reminded me of another one today too, which was like, when do you like what's like the ideal day of like payment from your customer? And like Sergio was like, Wednesday. That was like also really funny and random.
it was super random. Yeah, just Wednesday. Yeah, every
Uh,
Wednesday.
that was great.
Um, and so, and of course, that just shows to me that like that shows me what I need to work on and what I need to kind of focus a little bit on. And of course, I always get feedback after these meetings, so I have my one-on-one with Sean on Monday. I'm prepared to get a few constructive criticisms, I am sure, but that's what they're there for.
I felt like overall, like some parts of it are like, I don't know. I was never a person that didn't like school, but at the same time, if you sit me in a chair for 8 hours, like my ass gets sore.
Yeah.
Like if I can metaphorically say it in such a way where I'm like, especially like in this environment where we're kind of like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
I didn't say goodbye to Jeremy and Sean. And I
Oh,
was like,
because you had to dip out.
yeah. And so I was like, damn.
They didn't stay for very long. Yeah.
I didn't think that they were going to,
Oh,
but I
okay.
definitely left before they did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but again, like I'm halfway there and I was like, damn, I didn't even say goodbye.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. Jeremy in particular, like, he's got some very interesting and radical things and beliefs in the project world, which I always love going back and forth about and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed talking with them and Sean too. Sean's just the coolest. So make sure you tell them I say goodbye.
Okay, I will. That's how I felt last time when we were at the other place. I had put my bags out and I was like, "Oh, let me go to the restroom real quick." And then I did and they were gone and I was like,
Dang, I know.
"See you in 3 months?"
Dude,
Uh,
that was yeah, that was I felt bad about that.